This is a red alert, folks. We are being convinced there is no free will, and we are being convinced that we don't have a choice. And then this excuse is what people use to not control themselves. I was a perfect example, and I see it all the time in others. If you're convinced that you don't have a choice, you know what? You're not gonna stop. Why would you stop yourself? You basically go around pretending that you're an animal, except you won't be an animal. Humans who don't believe in free will, this is far worse than an animal. Humans, we were kicked out of the garden when we became human nature and no longer of nature. Of nature inherently seeks balance. Animals, they work for nature. In nature, they give back much more than they take. Human nature is to consume much more than it gives back. The garden, it's the Garden of Eden. And the whole point of the Bible is that you have free will and choice. Then gives you two options and then says choose one. This is an attempt to correct human nature's way of thinking that believes, well, I don't have a choice in how I act or how I think or what I desire, you know? Instead, the only thing I can do is be controlled by negativity. Then the Bible reasons, well, if you don't think you have a choice, at least think twice because you might go to hell, right? But nowadays, the major thinking is that, well, that's just a bunch of tomfoolery. Fear God. There is no God. Do whatever you feel. And there's no such thing as hell either. So don't even think about your actions. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice anyway, you know? You don't have free will. You're an animal. And then people wonder why. People wonder why everything's out of control. Mass murdering, then committing suicide. You know, they didn't think they had a choice except obsess about murdering people. Then, well, I mean, there weren't going to be any consequences anyway because they committed suicide. So how could they choose to stop and why would they do it anyway? They didn't believe that they could and they didn't even try. Well, this type of thinking is pervasive and spreading all across the earth like a virus. It's a disease. We have lost the wisdom that was common sense for most people just a mere 100 years ago. And in a day and age where we're consuming massive amounts of negativity, finding it pleasing and entertaining, doing so becomes a way of thinking. And since it's free speech, it's not going to be banned. This is why now more than ever do we need to restore the common sense truth that we do have a choice in how we act and how we think. Because if we don't, believing in no free will combined with finding negativity pleasing, this is only going to cause massive amounts of problems that we currently see in present day. And this is just a start. Imagine the thought crosses the mind, do something evil, and there's no belief to stop it. Combined with the frustration enabled by the society not valuing the invaluable. This is a recipe for seemingly random acts of constant violence. You know, we have heard that we're just animals, and that's used to condone lust, meaning we have no choice but to lust. This combined with marketing, consistently placing lust on our mind using sex to manipulate us, when it happens, then rape increases and sexual assault and abuse. Because the justification is, well, I mean, who cares? We're animals anyway, and I can't stop myself. I can keep on going. Every thought that has ever crossed your mind that you have dismissed, well, no choice makes that thought its own. And then it festers and grows with no choice but to explode, and then innocent people are hurt. Believing in free will, this is called responsibility. And with great responsibility comes great power of will, meaning responsibility believes it has a choice and then demonstrates it with its power of will, either to dismiss a random thought or to be helpless to it. Those are the choices. As a kid, I was tricked into believing I had no choice or responsibility by psychology. I have this label or that label, and it's a disease, and it's not your fault. And I believed them because they were the experts. So I didn't even try to control myself in school, for example. Then as an adult, I wish I could change, but I couldn't because I didn't have a choice. I would be frustrated about it and I'd do drugs. I'd get arrested. And once again, the experts in the drug and alcohol programs, they try to convince me that, oh, well, addiction, it's not a choice. It's a disease. It's not my fault. Then I took even less responsibility because they are the opposites. Not my fault and responsibility. And then I said, oh, it's not my fault. It's a law's fault for me breaking it. The only way the law can work is if people believe they have a choice. Otherwise, the law is pointless and punishment is futile. It wasn't until I took responsibility for my actions and realized all these things were happening because of choices that I was making. It wasn't until that I could start to honestly stop myself and change the ways I didn't like to think and ways I didn't want to think. Before that, I made choices all the time using reasoning, but I didn't fully understand that I could. I applied it whenever convenient and justified it the other times. And you know what? This was a way of thinking. No choice, free will. Now I believe it's evil. It's an attempt to enslave into negativity with nothing you can do about it. I brought up God before, saying a major theme was that we do have a choice. And listen, if there is an Antichrist, if there is a Satan, he will be like, hey guys, you don't have a choice. You know, there's no free will. So what we all need to do with these false prophets and experts with degrees trying to convince us there is no choice and no free will, saying that we have a problem and it's not our fault and that we don't have a choice, well, their foolishness and lawlessness needs to be stopped because Jesus Christ says, you got a problem? Well, there's everything that you can do about it if you believe him that you can through him. You know, God-given free will. And we, the people who are empowered by this truth, we need to move quickly against this antichrist spirit of no choice. That other way of thinking. It doesn't make any sense. We can no longer allow this to go on because the more out of control the world becomes due to no choice and no free will, there's going to be a breakdown of law and civility. It will be anarchy. An anarchy of insane people who say, I can't control myself. And why would we ever want that? So give this a thumbs up, share this, and subscribe so that we can go all the way this time. Move mountains, folks. We're going all the way this time. You know why? Because we have a choice. Because we can.